Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is going to be all about the traits of a high caliber medical coder. I'd like to thank Gia. Huge shout out to Gia for this episode suggestion. All right. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. I really love what I do. If you've watched any of the videos of my channel, you see how glowingly I talk about medical coding. Well, what are the traits of a good medical coder, a high caliber medical coder? This is what I like to call high caliber. When you can encompass not just the coding part, not just being able to interpret the guidelines and being able to, select correct diagnosis codes or be able to select correct procedure codes, you can also encompass your personality, your ability to be able to read a room, your ability to be able to take and accept criticism. Okay. So many times I've seen very good coders who are not able to take criticism and they immediately shut down and they don't want to hear anything else that anybody has to say because they feel they are correct. There is a time and place where you can stand for yourself and say, yes, I am correct because I can show you this, I can show you that, I can show you this, and I can show you that. But if you're not willing to listen to somebody when they say to you, oh, well, there's also this. If you can't do that, then that makes you fall a few notches, okay? Because you're not able to learn. And somebody who is willing to learn is a example of a very high caliber coder. Now, a high caliber coder doesn't mean you have to know every single thing about like the body and the disease process and the procedures and things, but there's a willingness to learn. That's the difference between the two, okay? And you have to be willing to put yourself out there in terms of, well, I know the guidelines and I know how to code, but I need to be able to see if everything is there that's going on in this encounter. Sometimes when providers are documenting, they don't exactly know that they can get credit for everything. And they are not going to come to you and ask you. A good medical coder, a high caliber medical coder will look, review, take a step back, learn the habits of this provider and look for those holes, look for the things that they are missing, look for that detail that's missing. Sometimes there's entire procedures that are missing. And do you know how you find out this stuff? By talking to them. Now, having a good personality is a good trait, okay? But being very professional in your speech and how you communicate is also a tale of a high caliber medical coder. Now, if you are not as clear in your speech, that's something to work on. It does involve some of your own self-improvement, okay? It involves you being able to speak clearly and get to the point and not be, so tough that you can't take some criticism or you can't get that open communication going. Sometimes medical coders will be very tough, okay? They feel like they're being tough and it causes the provider to shut down. A high caliber coder will be very welcoming and be very open to this provider and let them know that you are there for a partnership. You're there to partner with them. And sometimes medical coders don't think that this is a possibility to be able to do this. It is. The more clear you are, the better it is for you, the better it is for the provider. There's a lot of times when money gets left on the table because providers are not documenting it. And again, if you are a high caliber medical coder, you're going to be able to see this and you're going to be able to know just simply by talking to them. Okay. Now, it is going to involve some detective skills. It's going to involve your ability to be able to immerse yourself in whatever subject that particular clinic is, whether it's gastro, neuro, cardio, any of those things. You really have to spend the time to learn, and you have to have that willingness to learn, and that is a huge part of what we do. Okay, but again, coupling it with the ability to communicate well and have that good rapport with your providers is key. Okay, it's not just about, oh, I'm a coder and I collect a check and I go home. No, it is about making sure that everybody is covered. This is a team effort. And it's not just about, oh, I'm just going to code and whatever's there. I have heard medical coders say that they just do not talk to providers. I mean, and to me, that's foolish, because why would you do that? Why would you have that potential of leaving money on the table, or making sure that, you know, that patient is actually paying appropriately for what services are provided? There's a difference. Okay, so that's what I have to say about that. And, you know, these things take time. I also say that a sign of a high caliber medical coder is your ability to be able to read a room. If you are not being received well, then you know to change your approach. And sometimes when people are, you know, coders are doing presentations or whatever, and they see that they're not being received, they get very discouraged, and then they just give up. You can't give up if you're a high caliber medical coder. You have to learn to change your approach. Okay, this approach isn't working, so let me try another approach. Some providers do not take well to direction. They do not take well to anybody other than their superiors telling them or trying to help them. They don't take well to that. So again, a high caliber medical coder is going to be able to work with this and have the personality and the fortitude to be able to say, well, let's work together. Let's get this worked out. And it's going to present a challenge sometimes. And if you are really good with the coding but lacking in the personality, you can still work on that. It takes baby steps, and you have to be willing to say hello. You have to be the first one to reach out. And there's a lot of providers that will tell you, I've never had a coder come to me and ask me or talk to me and find out what's going on. So there's the difference, okay? And if your personality is a little hard, as far as, like, you know, you just put off a very strong energy, it's okay. You know, we can work with that. You know, that's something that, you know, when it comes to reading books about body language and really working on yourself to be able to shine and polish, you know, your own energy is really a good thing, okay? So it takes a lot. It's not just about the book. It's not just about, you know, learning to read and look at the details. It's all about you and your presentation to the community of medical coding, to providers, okay? And you have to be willing to say, hey, I can, if another coder asks you a question, obviously every situation is going to be different. But there are people that say, well, I'm not helping you because no one helped me. And to me, that's a bad attitude. You know, it's about being a team player, okay? Yes, there are going to be times when some people will try to take advantage of you, but that's when you have to use that good reasoning skill to say, okay, I know this person is trying to take advantage of me. I'm going to show them how to do it, and then they're on their own. They can go from there, okay? But it's not about, oh, it's just me and I'm going to do my own thing, you know? Yes, there are jobs where you are working only by yourself, but it does not mean that you can't have that willing energy to be able to speak to providers and to speak to your fellow coders, okay? And it is about being able to make executive decisions for yourself. There are things that I do that are not conventional when it comes to how I approach my providers or how I do things. And I call it making an executive decision because I have that ability to be able to do that. Now, these things are because I know what the end result is going to be. I know if I invest in learning this, or if I invest in questioning what's going on with this document, I know that this is fruitful labor. This is not going to not produce something, okay? It's either going to produce an easier time for my provider as far as their ability to get the message of what's going on in that encounter down on this paper, you know? But it takes somebody who is willing to go that extra mile and not just do the bare minimum. You cannot do the bare minimum and call yourself an excellent medical coder. You cannot do that. It takes everything. It takes your personality and your presentation and communication. That's what it takes. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm introvert. I don't do that. When you have things that you're passionate about, you will come alive. and it does change you. But it is about what you are willing to do. And sometimes you are going to have you are going to question yourself, okay? But you have to be willing to work with yourself and say, because your mind is going to play these games of, do I really know what I'm doing? Do I really? And you have to be able to say to yourself, yes, I have self-confidence. I know I can get this. I know that I may get knocked down a few times as far as like, oh, do I really know what I'm doing? I maybe get knocked down, but I get right back up, okay? And it is about training yourself. And, what's the saying? You can't just get into the ring with Ali just because you think you can box. You really have to put in the work, right? You have to put in the work. And you see, that's what happens when you watch old movies all day. I was watching Fast and the Furious the other day. Anyway, but yes, that is true. You have to really think about all the things that, you have to do for yourself. And in order to be able to do that, it takes all of that. It takes all kinds to be a medical coder. It really does. There are some that are better in leadership positions. They're very smart, but they need to work in collaboration with other medical coders so that they know what the problem is. Okay. Because this person who's really good at this may not really be very strong at applying codes, but then you have a coder that's strong at applying codes, but not really heavy in the communication department. But if these two coders can talk to each other, that's what makes a high caliber medical coder, because you can communicate. So that message can get out to the people that need it, which is the providers. Okay. You see how it all flows in together. But don't stop that energy just because you don't want to ask questions. You think this person, is beneath you, or this person, may treat you badly or whatever. It's not about that. Okay. It's literally not about that, because to me, when I think of other medical coders that I work with, it's not about them. It's about the provider, and you have to get that mindset. Okay. It is a mindset too. Okay. You have to be willing to say, I'm not there for them. I'm there for the providers. If you feel that block coming in from other coders, okay, if there's no communication between the other coders and you have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to filter out that feeling and direct it to where, I know that I'm working with my providers. Okay. And again, it still makes you a high caliber medical coder anyway. Okay. But if you have coders that can communicate well, and then they can spread the message of correct documentation, of correct guideline application, then you're doing good. Okay. But it is a whole package deal. You can't just be book smart, people. You have to be people smart, and you have to be having that willingness to learn. Okay. Because it all goes in a circle. Okay. It's a huge circle that ends up going round and round. Okay. But you have to be willing to do that. And that's what makes it fun. When I started to do this, when I started really diving in, because I didn't really think about all this other stuff, when I started reading more books about body language and things, it helped me to be able to say, okay, well, this provider's not working with me this way. Let me try another approach. So then all of a sudden, when I try another approach, like the well opens up, okay? And there's all of this good communication going back and forth. And all of a sudden, what's getting improved? The documentation. And what happens to you when you have improved documentation, right? You start to go quicker and you start to go faster. So there's a benefit there, okay? But, it is, again, whole package to be a high caliber medical coder. Okay. Let's see, what else can I say about this subject other than that? It's going to take time. Like I said, it's not something that you're going to do overnight. You will go through what I call a shaping process, but you have to stick with it, because the second that you don't stick with it, you just give up and you lose what you could potentially have. I know this field isn't for everyone, but I will say that when you do devote yourself to it and you start to explore and you start to be willing to communicate, that's when things can happen. That's when the magic happens, okay? At least that's what I think. And then you learn more. And the more you learn, the bigger your vocabulary, the bigger your knowledge base, the better it is for you, okay? Because I can tell you that going into it in the beginning and just barely being the book smart part of it till now, fast forward till now, where I'm able to do the good communication and do good instruction and things like that, it makes a world of difference. And I don't see it as a job anymore. I see it as a career. And somebody who's a high caliber medical coder will see it as a career and not just a job. Okay, so there's times when, you know, like I said, you're gonna question your own ability to know things, but you have to get that self-confidence, because that's another sign of a high caliber medical coder. You have to have good confidence, and you have to be willing to say, yep, I was wrong on that one, but now I know. Okay, not just I'm going to be stubborn and say, no, deep down I know I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell everybody that I'm right. Can't do that either. Can't do that. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And you have to be willing to accept it, and you have to be willing to move on. Another trait. You have to be willing to just get through those times when you get knocked down, but you get right back up. Okay? So that is the video for today. I hope this has helped. A lot of people, you know, I will get emails asking me, you know, well, I see that you really enjoy it. You know, why do you enjoy it so much? And when you really devote yourself to something, to your profession, it does change how you look at things, and it does change your approach to anything. Okay, because of this, I've learned a lot more, and I've learned to be more professional. I've learned to sharpen my speech when I'm speaking publicly. I know sometimes, like on here, but I'm talking to you guys, and this is just very open speech. So, you know, and like I said, I don't edit my videos. These are all raw and uncut, okay? I very rarely edit my videos. I will get better. And that's another thing. You will get better, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But I will be back tomorrow night at 7:30, and I will be announcing tomorrow's topic tomorrow morning. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If it has helped you, please share it. Please give it a thumbs up, and I will see y'all on the next episode. So if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider, or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.